There has been so much money flowing in from the central banks that you can see the speculation right in front of you. It's everywhere. This is the most risk-taking ever in history, but unlike in previous bubbles, there's so much denial from basically everyone, it's unheard of. But that's besides the point. The real issue here is that we have so much fiat floating around, and yet the economy is actually in such a horrible position globally. That disparity should be looked at more closely. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. I've got some interesting information related to the Federal Reserve. They had another meeting, they put out the statement at 2 p.m. Then we went out and looked at their question and answer. For those who did, I know I did, and my goodness, it was a sleeper. Worse than normal, in fact, because of course they were doing it virtually and it just dragged on. And to be honest with you, I couldn't watch it all. I really just couldn't do it. Anyway, I wanted to bring that information to you, give you some insight on that. And then we're going to talk about the economic factors of what has been happening, because it's important to look at this. And I try to connect that with information coming through all around the world. I get people, but this is what people don't understand here. They see these articles and they might see the information. They also see other information and they form their own bias. You've got to understand what I'm showing you here is just a small fraction. I get information coming in all the time from all different avenues, including people in the comments. They will say, hey, I'm from this state, I'm from this city, I'm from this country, I'm from this place, and here is what I see. And every single day I'm picking up hundreds, literally hundreds of different data points. And I present you a video here that's just a snippet of what I find literally 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So you're only going to see that small bit, but I try to do my best to condense that into these videos. Okay, no more ranting. I just wanted to let you know that what we're going to see here is the economic aspects, and then I've got some financial stuff as well. So definitely stay tuned. Let's go. Fed commits to keep buying bonds. Is anybody at all shocked? Are you surprised? Oh my goodness gracious. So essentially what they're doing is approximately $120 billion, and they're doing this on a monthly basis. I believe the total was approximately 0.5% of the GDP every single month. It's crazy, but this is what's going on. Now, they have committed to basically the fact that they are doing this for the foreseeable future until the economy is well on track. Okay, they're trying to just say, don't worry, we're not going to do what we did last time. We're not going to start increasing interest rates as the economy is healing. No, we want it to be totally fine, totally fantastic, and then we may increase them later on. But don't worry, there's so many cautions and warnings and flags that are all surrounding that to make sure that the market realizes that there's no chance this thing is going anywhere. It's crazy, but that's where we're at. They do believe that the double dip recession, if something like this occurs, that they will have more to do at some point. They don't want to use up any more at this point, so they're not decreasing the interest rates into the negative. They're not printing more than $120 billion. They're simply going at this rate now so that they can accelerate later and it would have more juice, let's say. But what I find interesting about the Federal Reserve in general and all central banks is this. Look, they present the information to you and they say in two different ways, essentially. Let me explain. They say the economy is not doing so well, it's not so hot, and there are very big concerns around what we're seeing now as it relates to the future. As a result, we need to print $120 billion in a month. That's the Federal Reserve saying this, and the fact that they have to bring interest rates down to zero and hold them there. But at the same time, in the same statement, you can read these for yourself. They will tell you that the economy looks strong, things are growing, there's moderate growth, sometimes you'll see that, but we have good prospects and the economy is so well and designed and everything is robust, and you see all these different words. How can those two statements coexist in the same paragraph, in the same statements? that they put out. It's ridiculous. And this is how you know that this fraud shouldn't be able to stand on the crutch that they've provided for it. But that's the way it is, because people are only looking for the absolute simple things. Are they printing money? Yes. Are they keeping interest rates low? Yes. That's it. They don't care about the fact that they are clearly bold-faced lying to everyone, and the fact that they went around their actual mandate. No, nobody cares about that. All they care about is their bottom line. Here is the actual statement for yourself if you want to check it out. It's really the same, exactly the same every single time. We're being accommodative, we're helping out the economy, we're trying to really bring in this full employment and so on. All a bunch of nonsense. Here's a quick update on the balance sheet. By the time that this video actually gets to you, you might see this changing. This is always updating on a weekly basis, but essentially we are just around the highest it has ever been, approximately $7.2 trillion. Real Investment Advice had this chart I wanted to show you. This is something that I talk about all the time, in fact, that essentially that when you have an economic contraction, it tends to never get back to the same growth level. And what they're trying to describe right here is what they say, the growth rate that they tell you is coming implies an 8.5% growth rate from 2022 to 2025. They're not going to be able to get that growth. It's just not going to happen in a country like the United States. You barely get that in emerging markets. So how in the world are they going to do this? An implied 30% growth rate through 2021. Next year, 30% growth rate. I mean, sure, there's a contraction, and then you have the resurgence after that V-shaped recovery that somehow was talked about and actually stated as a fact that has happened already. I mean, the markets maybe, but definitely not the economy. Anyway, suggesting that there's somehow a 30% growth rate through 2021 and then 8.5, it's just not going to happen. So you know that there isn't going to be that growth for these next few years unless something really drastic changes. So how do you make up for that? Well, ultimately, debt is being used to fill in the gap. Nearly 8 million Americans have fallen into poverty since the summer. And this is some heartbreaking information. It's part of so many articles that I see around this topic. And it just shows you that the amount of money that's been flooding into the system certainly is helping out those at the top the most. Yes, it's benefiting those with their 401ks and their ETFs and so on, but it's not really about that. And I've talked about it actually just yesterday's video explaining it further. But anyway, the US poverty rate has surged over the past 5 months with 7.8 million Americans falling into poverty, the latest indication of how deeply many are struggling after the government aid dwindled. So this is part of the fact that there is a lot of stimulus coming in from the government and people really, really relied on it. And as that disappears, you present the problem for a lot of people. They're claiming that there's going to be this stimulus package coming, and it's coming very soon. We'll see what happens. But what's that going to do? It's going to extend their unemployment benefits. They're going to get a few $100s, and they're going to get this stimulus check. Maybe they're going to get a check along with it. It's just a one-time thing. What's that really going to do? They've already accumulated so much debt up until this point. That's maybe just going to be able to get them back till today, but what about tomorrow? And of course, it's suddenly becoming such a big problem for a lot of people, but underlying this, it's always been there. This information is connected with the previous. Americans run down checking accounts as aid cutoff approaches. Americans' cash cushions have been declining for months, most acutely among low-income households, underscoring the already precarious financial situation of the millions who may soon lose their jobless benefits. Like, I think the stimulus package is going to happen. They're going to extend basically everything. but it really doesn't resolve anything. That's my whole point. The median household checking account balance surged by 65% after the arrival of stimulus checks in April, formerly known as the economic impact payments, but balances have steadily declined since May. And what I have found in the comments, people were telling me you had people that were coming in. This woman told me that she was working at Walmart and saw people, as soon as the stimulus checks came in, people came in, bought televisions and other things. You had the Robinhood accounts were filling up with a direct correlation with those stimulus checks. And it is very concerning to see where the money is being spent. I don't think that if you just broadly give everybody money like this, that it's going to find its way to the most needy causes. That's just the way I see it. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is the chart that's associated with it. If you want to check it out for yourself, cash buffers are falling year over year, dollar change of median household checking account balances. And you could see clearly it's a problem, especially for those who earn the least. It's not just people, but of course, small businesses are hurting as well, which affects people too, because small business makes up a large chunk of the businesses out there in general. Rent woes across the US and Canada. While 35% of US-based small businesses are unable to pay December rent, small businesses in a variety of states are even more cash strapped. In Canada, the rate is even higher, with 37% of Canadian small business owners said that they couldn't make December's rent. Now that to me is unbelievable. 37% aren't able to make rent. I know of one example, a small shop anyway. They had 3 locations, okay? 3 locations in the downtown core of Toronto. Now they're down to 1 location with it actually being a question because they're shut down now. What will happen later? They don't even know at this point. That's how bad things are for some people. But you look at other places, they're able to manage. They're able to manage their business. They're able to do what they need to get through this. But unfortunately, for so many, they just couldn't do it. That's all for this video. If you found that informative, hit that thumbs up button. When you do, you are supporting me. I want to thank you for that. If you want to learn about e-commerce, if you want to sell online, you can learn for free at my website, theamazongps.com. If you want to understand the financial system, you want to know how it's all broken down, you want to be able to ask the right questions, you can check out my books. They are right in the link in the description. And if you want the audiobook instead, themoneygps.com. Hang on a second. Hold on. Have you seen this video yet? If you haven't, you definitely want to check it out. Click it. I'll see you there.